There is a specific sound a room makes when 200 people stop breathing at the same time. I heard it on my 18th birthday, standing in the great hall of the Iron Veil Pack in a dress my mother had altered 3 times, with my hair braided the way a Luna's is braided, waiting for the man the moon had given me to say the 6 words that would bind us. He said different words. I, Kael of Ironvale, reject you. I have replayed that moment more times than I will ever admit. Not the words, the half second before them, because he closed his eyes. Whatever else happened after, whatever I believed for 5 years, I always knew that he closed his eyes first, like a man stepping off a ledge. The bond broke like a bone. I want you to understand what that actually is if you've never felt it. It is not heartbreak. Heartbreak is a human thing, and humans survive it every day. A broken mate bond is your own wolf being torn out of you by the roots while you stand upright and watch people's faces. I went down on that marble floor. Someone laughed. My mother did not move. They took my pendant. They took my rooms. Somebody, I never learned who, threw the dress out into the yard after me, and it was still lying there in the snow the next morning when I finally got up and started walking, because I turned around and looked, and it was the last thing I ever saw of that place. I walked for 11 days. Here is what the snow made me. There is a pack in the north the council does not like to talk about. Blackmere. Old, small, stubborn, full of wolves who got run out of somewhere else. Their alpha was a woman named Halda with a gray muzzle and one milky eye. And when they found me half dead in a culvert, she looked at me for a long moment and said, "Ah, another one." They didn't nurse me. That's the part I'm grateful for. Halda put a bucket in my hands on day 3 and told me the eastern pens needed mucking, and if I wanted to lie down and die, I could do it after. My wolf came back in the spring. She came back wrong, and by wrong I mean enormous. Silver black, a full head taller than any female in Blackmere, with a voice in the shift that made grown warriors step sideways. Halda watched me come up out of that first shift in the mud and went very quiet, and then she said a word I'd never heard before. Ashborne. I asked her what it meant. She said, later. She said it for 4 years. I took Blackmere at 22, not by murder, by challenge, in front of witnesses, against Halda's own second, because she asked me to, and because the old woman was dying and she wanted her people left with something with teeth. She held my hand at the end and told me the rest. The Ashborne line is a council problem. It's old blood from before the council existed, and it doesn't answer to their ranking or their laws or their carefully arranged mate matches. Their solution for 300 years has been simple and quiet. Any Ashborne female who is bonded and recognized as a Luna is put down before she can carry. Not exiled, not rejected. Put down. Your Kael, Halda said, with what breath she had left, was told at your presentation ceremony. The council man was in the room. I said, that's not possible. He had about 9 seconds to decide, she said, and he chose the version where you're alive and hate him. She squeezed my fingers. Girl, everybody in this world will tell you what love looks like. Almost nobody will show you what it costs. I sat with that for 8 months and did not go to him. I want to be honest about that. I didn't go running. I was alpha of a pack of 300 people who ate because I made sure of it. And I had learned the hard way that being loved from a distance doesn't keep anybody warm. What I did instead was write a treaty. Blackmere holds the northern pass. Ironvale's entire trade route runs through it, and had run through it for a century, on nothing but a handshake between dead men. So I drew up terms, fair ones mostly, and I put in one clause that had nothing to do with trade at all, and I rode south with 40 warriors at my back to deliver it in person. I came into that great hall in black leather with the black mirror crest on my shoulder, and my wolf so close to the surface that the candles guttered when I passed them. 200 people stopped breathing again. Some things you can plan. Kael stood at the head of the hall, and God help me, he looked ruined. 5 years had taken something out of him that his height couldn't cover. He looked at me the way a man looks at weather coming. Alpha Nyra of Blackmere, he said, steady, formal. Alpha Kael of Ironvale. I let the pause sit. You're in my pass. The terms were read aloud. Grain quotas, tariff percentages, rite of passage. And then the clerk got to Clause 11, and his voice cracked, because Clause 11 said that the treaty would be sealed in the old way. The petitioning Alpha kneeling to the holding Alpha in the hall in front of the pack.
Discover Elysium AI companion today, and don't just read a romance, create one.
His own pack, the same 200 faces, the same marble floor. Somebody's mother made a sound. Kael didn't argue. He didn't even hesitate. He crossed that hall in about 4 strides and went down on one knee at my feet so fast it looked eager. And he bowed his head, and every wolf in that room understood something that I hadn't quite planned for them to understand. He wanted it. I stood over him with my heart going like a bird in a box, and I said, quietly, so only he could hear it, that was for the dress. And he said, into the floor, there isn't enough of me to pay for the dress. I stayed 3 nights, because treaties have paperwork. On the 2nd night, his Gamma, a girl who'd been 10 years old when I was driven out, and had apparently been furious about it ever since, put a leather book in my hands and ran away down the corridor before I could speak. It was his, 5 years of it. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but there were entries where he'd written my name 11 times down a page and nothing else. There was a page with a drawing of the pendant they took off me. There was one entry dated the following spring that said, Ashborne, 2nd one this decade. Council took her in Redfen. She was bonded 4 months. Nyra is alive. Nyra is alive. Nyra is alive. And near the end, 4 months ago, she has taken Blackmere. There is a rumor she is enormous. I laughed out loud in the stable, and Bran thinks I've lost my mind. Let her come and put a knife in me if she wants. She's alive. I sat on the floor of a guest room in the pack that threw me out, and I cried for about an hour, which is more than I did the night it happened. The council came 11 days later. They didn't come for the treaty. They came because an Ashborne female had stood in a hall and been knelt to, and word travels. 6 of them, plus 20 enforcers, plus a man in gray with a writ and a very reasonable voice, who explained to a packed hall that Blackmere's Alpha was in violation of an ordinance from 1312, and that the sentence was already decided, and that Ironvale, as the aggrieved former pack, would be permitted to carry it out. They handed Kael the blade. They meant it as a courtesy. That's the thing about the council. They genuinely thought they were being gracious. The wolf who rejected her gets to finish it. Very tidy, Kael took the blade. He turned it over once in his hand, looking at it. The hall was so quiet, I could hear the torches. 5 years ago, he said, I stood in this room and I let you take my mate's life apart because 6 men in a doorway told me the alternative was her corpse. He raised his eyes. I have thought about that decision every single day, and I have decided that I made the wrong one. Then he threw the blade at the council table, hard enough to split the wood, and said, Ironvale stands with Blackmere. His pack answered before he finished the sentence. That's the part that still gets me, not his voice, theirs. 200 wolves who had watched me crawl out of that hall, roaring, and half of them ashamed, and all of them ready. 40 Blackmere warriors came through the doors behind me. It lasted under 4 minutes. I'm not going to dress it up as a battle. 20 enforcers against 2 packs and a very angry Ashborne female is not a battle. It's arithmetic. The man in gray went out a window. I let him. I wanted him to run all the way home and tell them exactly what the arithmetic was. Afterwards, in the wrecked hall, Kael found me by the door. Nyra, he said, and then nothing for a while. I don't have a version of this where I ask you for anything. Good, I said, because you're not going to. I turned to face him. Here's what happens now. You don't get the bond back. Not tonight. Not this month. It broke. And it broke me. And whatever comes next has to be built out of something other than the moon deciding for us. He nodded. He looked like a man being handed a sentence and grateful for it. You're going to court me, I said, properly from the beginning, like I'm a stranger you'd like to know. He said, for how long? A year. And Kael, Alpha of Ironvale, who had Knelt on that floor twice now, actually laughed, wetly, badly, with his hand over his mouth. A year, he said. Gods, yes, a year. He wrote to me every week. He came north in the worst months when the pass was chest deep, and he mucked the eastern pens because he didn't know how else to be useful in my house. He learned the names of all 300 of my people. He was tolerable at cards and terrible at lying, and he never once, in 12 months, asked me for the bond. I gave it to him in the spring, on Blackmere ground, in front of both packs, wearing a dress I paid for myself. The council does not come north anymore. There is a phrase they use for us in their records now, which one of their own clerks leaked, and which I have had carved over my gate because I think it's funny. 2 packs, 1 line. Not worth the cost. That's right, we're not.